Since its independence on the 7th of October 2017, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution has developed a working strategy focused on several axes, aimed at the implementation of the requirements of the Kingdom's Constitution regarding the strengthening of the independence of the judiciary. On the 22nd of March, 2021, Mr. Moulay Al-Hassan Duki enjoyed the precious trust of the head of the Supreme Council of the Judicial Authority, His Majesty King Mohammed VI, who appointed him Public Prosecutor of His Majesty to the Court of Cassation, and in this capacity as head of the Public Prosecution.
This is a great day and a great honor to be here at the Public Prosecution's headquarters to receive the duties of the Public Prosecution's Presidency, after His Majesty, may God assist him and support him, for entrusting me with this task and appointing me as head of the Public Prosecution. As you know, the decree to appoint the Public Prosecutor to the Court of Cassation, the head of the Public Prosecution by His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, the Commander of the Faithful and the Chairman of the Administrative Council of the Judicial Authority, emphasized in the decree of his appointment to the head of the Public Prosecution the need to defend the public right and protect the public order and urge all the Public Prosecutors' judges to adherence to the appropriate law enforcement.
After more than 4 years since His Majesty launched the actual independence era of authority, the outputs of this independence have been successful by establishing the foundations of the jurisdiction and building its structures thanks to the efforts made by the officials to the Presidency of the Public Prosecution.
Since its creation as an institution in 2017, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution has worked to create many mechanisms in which its duties are organized from the structure of the Presidency of the Public Prosecution, which is based on a group of 4 poles until the year 2021, when an amendment was made to this structure by adding a 5th pole.
In consecration of the concept of the modern administration, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution took the initiative of implementing an action plan to work remotely and included precautionary measures at the level of public prosecutions with the courts, in particular the adoption of teleconference in dealing with complaints, that is the electronic complaint, then reducing the number of visitors to public prosecutions and adopting trials through teleconferencing and organization of appointments and meetings via applications intended for this purpose. A series of communicative meetings were also organized with the main partners in the field of criminal justice, mainly the General Directorate of National Security and the High Command of the Royal Gendarmerie, where 2 academic days were held on the 11th and 12th of June 2021 with the judicial and security officials and the Royal Gendarmerie services. The Presidency of the Public Prosecution has devoted great attention to the concerns of the citizen, as it is among its most important goals. That was evident in the creation of a front desk headed by the Public Prosecution dedicated to receiving complaints according to international standards, and this has been evident in improving the conditions and intention of reception by starting front desks and providing services within reasonable deadlines and notifying individuals about their complaints and using technological means in managing complaints by adopting electronic complaints. Similarly, the electronic complaint was approved in winning the Public Prosecution's 2021 the Prize of Excellence for the Electronic Complaint Service. The Presidency of the Public Prosecution has accompanied the national strategy to prevent corruption and combat it by creating a direct line to report bribery and financial corruption, which was launched on the 16th of May, 2018. It contributed, up to the end of 2021, to controlling more than 200 suspects in flagrante delicto. Among the aspects of caring for the rights and freedoms is the issuing of the Presidency of the Public Prosecution of a series of circulars, to all the judges of the Public Prosecution in various courts of the Kingdom and calls for the rationalization of pre-trial detention, rationalizing resorting to the editing of a wanted notice against a citizen. Regarding the combating of corruption offenses, the Public Prosecution launched an unprecedented program for the training of the Public Prosecution judges to strengthen their human rights capabilities. 7 cohorts have benefited from this program, mainly about 720 male and female judges of the public prosecution.
This training session comes in the context of holding a series of training sessions over the year, with the objective of possessing universal human rights capacities and standards.
The Presidency of the Public Prosecution has worked to coordinate with officials of the public prosecutors in order to double their efforts to rationalize the pre-trial detention. In this regard, 5 regional training sessions were organized on this subject, which benefited about 620 judges and officials of the public prosecution. In connection with the activation of the requirements of the Marrakesh 2020 Declaration to eradicate violence against women, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution is working to combat the marriage of minors. The Presidency of the Public Prosecution also provided, on October 8, 2021, a guidebook about the sponsorship of neglected children in the context of the cooperation program with the United Nations Children's Fund with the support of the European Union. To enhance cooperation, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution has concluded a series of cooperation agreements with a group of justice partners in this area. In addition to participating in media meetings, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution has continued to open up to the media on issues of public opinion, media follow-ups or social media, by providing the necessary clarifications, in the form of central or local communications, and publishing them in various media outlets. Conscious of the need to supervise the media coverage of the judiciary, the Presidency of the Public Prosecutor's Office has endeavored to provide its judges with training programs at the Higher Institute for Information and Communication, in the prospect of appointing spokespersons for public prosecutors in the various courts of the kingdom. The Presidency of the Public Prosecutor's Office has also participated in the diplomatic forum organized by the Diplomatic Foundation, in 2021. The head of the public prosecution has highlighted Morocco's experience in the independence of the judiciary, and the Presidency of the Public Prosecutor's Office in front of the ambassadors and representatives of diplomatic missions in Morocco. The openness of the Presidency of the Public Prosecution on its external environment has enabled it to join a series of international forums. The election of Morocco Vice President of the African Public Prosecutors Association and its accession to the International Public Prosecutor Association for the Presidency of the Public Prosecution to obtain observer status at the Consultative Council of European Agents. On the 7th of November, 2021, the Public Prosecution Presidency was elected Vice President of the Arab Public Representatives Association. In consecration of the judicial diplomacy, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution has established partnerships, cooperation agreements and memoranda of understanding with public prosecutions in a number of countries in the world. The Presidency of the Public Prosecution, together with its judges and its partners in various courts of the kingdom, is seeking fair and effective justice that has credibility and trust, which will work to achieve, in all possible legal ways, to be at the level of the valuable royal trust and at the citizens' expectations level, to implement the slogan raised by the Presidency of the Public Prosecution, for a citizen, procuratorate.